All right, so let's talk about your Sierra resupply strategy. Right off the bat, you'll have either option one or option two, depending on if the roads are open. So I'll let you know when the roads are open. I generally show you how to check yourselves whether the roads are open and also check on whether the roads are open or not. And so the roads will take you to the upper elevation campgrounds, and the upper elevation campgrounds will um, denote whether you are going to resupply at the Eastern Sierra Trail towns. And I'll go through that in a little bit. But right off the bat, for mileage wise, you're going to be at Kennedy Meadows South at 703. That's mile 703. And then you'll have a exit pass to exit trail to Mulkey Pass or Trail Pass at mile 745 and 746. And that's respective of water. If there's a lot of water, then I suggest Trail Pass. If there's not much water, then Mulkey Pass tends to have some water later in the season for you. So I recommend Trail Pass at 746.5 to go down into Lone Pine. And then Mt Whitney is going to be at 767. And then Forester Pass is going to be at mile 780. And then your exit to Independence through Kearsarge Pass is going to be at mile 790. And then I don't think you'll need to exit Bishop Pass at 832 and or enter in Piute Pass at 857. And that's because 2023 and 2024 hikers had to do that because the San Joaquin Bridge was out. However, before that, going in and out of Piute Pass would cancel your permit. So please verify all of that is within your permit status. And then Mirror Trail Ranch, MTR, is at 858. And then Vermilion Valley Ranch is Vermilion Valley Resort is at 875. So VVR is at 875 and MTR is at 857. And then Mammoth Pass to Horseshoe Lake is mile 904. So you'll take Mammoth Pass to Horseshoe Lake into the town of Mammoth Lakes. So those are your passes that will do the southern part of the Southern Sierra. And that's what you're going to use. I recommend you using Craig's PCT planner, and I'll send a link down below in this comment section. But what you will decide whether the road's open or not is whether you're going to exit Trail Pass or Mulkey Pass, or whether you'll do your complete resupply at Kennedy Meadows South. So the reason to do your resupply at Kennedy Meadows South is if you're going to not go into Lone Pine that first time and you're going to exit Kearsarge. So you will do both Forester Pass and Whitney, Mt Whitney, on the same resupply from Kennedy Meadows South, and then exit the PCT from Kearsarge Pass into the town of Independence. And then you can head north or south on 395 if you want to resupply south in Lone Pine, or go north and resupply in the town of Bishop, which is a little bit bigger than Lone Pine. However, Lone Pine is a really cool town for PCT hikers to experience. So the other reason to exit Mulkey Pass and Trail Pass would be to have more resupply for more food for the Mt Whitney section and the Forester Pass section. And then you'll have 2 more days of food since since Mulkey and Trail Pass are at mile 745. So you'll save 45 miles of food and or bear can carry. So if you're renting a bear can at Kennedy Meadows South, or you're borrowing one of my bear cans at Kennedy Meadows South, then what you'll do is you'll carry your bear can from mile 703 Kennedy Meadows South. However, if you already have a bear can and or you've yet to send it to Lone Pine and the roads are open, then you can pick up your bear can at Lone Pine and save yourself 40 something miles of bear can carry, because the actual bear can miles start at mile 751 at the end of Cottonwood Pass, where Cottonwood Pass trailhead is on the PCT at mile 751 as you enter Secchi and Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park. All right, so it's the advantage of going into Lone Pine if the roads are open. That's Horseshoe Meadows Road and Cottonwood Pass campground. If that campground's open and the road is open, then there's plenty of traffic to hitch into Lone Pine and do your resupply 42 miles later in your PCT hike in the Sierra. Therefore, having much more food to enter the Sierra at Whitney and Forester than you would if you resupplied 42 miles earlier at Kennedy Meadows. Okay, so let's see. So now that you have your choice whether you are going to exit in the Cottonwood Campground, Horseshoe Meadows Road, in the Lone Pine that first time, you will then have those of you that went in Lone Pine will have 2 more days of food to do Mt Whitney and the Forester Pass section. And so therefore, if for instance it's cloudy that day, then you'll have a second opportunity to summit Whitney, or you'll have a 1 or even 2 trail zeros in arguably the prettiest part of the Sierra. So it's not a bad trade-off when you're not in a hurry and you're not FKTing it. So then that'll take you to Kearsarge Pass. At Kearsarge Pass, again, you have a chance of going down into Independence, and then from Independence, you can resupply at Independence at a small gas station, or you can go north to Bishop or south to Lone Pine. And then the next passes is going to be Bishop Pass and Piute Pass, which I think is not going to be optimal for anyone this year because the San Joaquin Bridge is available. And then after that, you will have Mural Trail Ranch option to resupply and VVR as an option to resupply. A lot of people went into VVR because, one, you could take a ferry. I recommend doing at least a ferry one way because it's pretty expensive. However, actually, sorry, negate that because the gentleman that used to run the ferry passed away this year. And so there is currently no ferry operator, and you'll have to walk into VVR from around the lake. There is a trail from actually on both sides of the lake. So that's VVR. And then your next stop will be at Mammoth Pass, and that takes you to Horseshoe Lake. There's several Mammoth Passes. There's several trails that go to the actual Mammoth Pass. And so you'll take the Horseshoe Lake option, and you'll take a bus from Horseshoe Lake to the town of Mammoth Lakes and resupply there. So that gets you your resupply options. Option 1 is to go into Lone Pine and do your big resupply for the Sierra there. And option 2 would be to start your resupply at Kennedy Meadows. If you start at Kennedy Meadows, then you're all set to all the way to Kearsarge. So you don't have to resupply both at Kennedy Meadows and at Lone Pine, and then resupply again at Independence. So there's a couple of other options there depending on how fast and how much trail legs you have. Okay, cheers. See ya.